My brother married my ex-girlfriend who had cheated on me. She got pregnant, and later she told me I should forgive her and move on from what happened. I used to believe that people could change, but now I'm convinced, once a cheater, always a cheater. My brother had to learn this lesson the hard way. Even though I warned him that his wife, who used to be my girlfriend, wasn't trustworthy, he didn't believe me. It's tough when it's your own family. How can I be so sure she's a cheater? Because she cheated on me. The stories about her cheating are unbelievable. Let me tell you the whole story. Tasha, who is now my brother's ex-wife, cheated on me with him. I warned my brother not to marry her because she was a cheater who was only after his money. He didn't listen, and I didn't go to their wedding, which caused tension between us. Now they want to reconcile because Tasha is pregnant. My mom encouraged me to give them another chance, so I agreed. It turns out Tasha was still cheating on my brother. When she had the baby, it didn't look like him at all. He decided to do a paternity test because he couldn't deny what he saw. Let me explain everything in detail. Back when I was dating Tasha, I was pretty foolish. I wanted a really attractive girlfriend to impress other people, especially because I didn't have much confidence in high school. Getting validation meant a lot to me. I even spent a lot of money on a fancy car to show off. During our relationship, Tasha was always really paranoid. She'd constantly check my phone, call to check where I was, and wouldn't let me talk to other girls. I wanted to reassure her and make her feel secure, so I introduced her to my close friends and family. But when my friends met her, they immediately sensed something was off and warned me to stay away from her. I was stubborn and thought they were just jealous, so I defended her to keep the peace in my friendships. I finally decided to introduce Tasha to my family, including my parents and my older brother Noah. Noah may be older, but he still acts like a kid sometimes. I thought it would be nice for Tasha to join us on our family weekend trip, especially since we were going to the beach. I imagined we'd have a great time together, but things didn't go as planned. Tasha and I got into a big fight because she accused me of staring at another girl in a bikini, which I wasn't. She slapped me and stormed off. I was upset, so I didn't go after her right away. Eventually, though, I got worried and went to look for her, but she was nowhere to be found. My parents had gone into town for some shopping, so I was alone. When I returned to the beach house, hoping she had gone back there, I found Tasha and Noah in a compromising situation on the couch. It was a shocking and upsetting sight for me, and I couldn't handle it. Tasha blamed me for what happened, saying it wouldn't have happened if I hadn't looked at other women. But I didn't, though I guess she assumes everyone acts like her. My brother's excuse was that he thought Tasha wasn't my type and that they would be happier together. I was really angry about the whole situation and decided to leave. I couldn't shake off the anger, and after a bit of digging, I found out that Tasha had been flirting with several guys while we were together. She'd go out with them for fancy dinners and have them buy her things. I realized I was just one of those guys too. I tried to warn Noah about her, but he didn't listen. After that, I didn't bother trying anymore. I was still furious about my girlfriend cheating on me with my own brother. I knew she'd cheat on him too, and one day he'd find out just like I did. Things didn't go as I expected. A few months later, I received an invitation to my brother and Tasha's wedding. I was shocked that my brother was marrying someone he barely knew, a person who was only interested in money, who lied, and who had cheated on me. At that moment, I realized that if I didn't intervene, my brother would face serious consequences. I wanted to shield him from Tasha and from the pain she would cause him in the future. I gathered all the evidence I had against her to show my brother that she had a history of cheating. When I presented it to him, he told me that Tasha had been honest with him. She claimed she was just experimenting with different men until she found the right one. She convinced my brother that he was the perfect match for her, and that's why they decided to get married. It all sounded like nonsense to me, but my brother was blinded by his love for her and believed every word she said. Noah likes to spend a lot of money, but it's not a big deal for us because we're financially stable. Noah earns a good income, and our parents also support him. Since we live in apartments owned by our dad, we don't have to pay rent. Our dad is into real estate, so we have a steady stream of rental income. Life has been pretty good for us, and I think Tasha wanted a piece of that too. I knew Tasha was only interested in money. She convinced Noah to throw a lavish wedding, spending a lot of our dad's money on it. What's even more shocking is that she invited many of the guys she had been with to the wedding. Nearly a quarter of the guests had been involved with her romantically. The rest were either her strange friends or my relatives. My family wasn't happy about the wedding. My mom just wanted Tasha to be happy, but my dad strongly disliked her and was against the wedding altogether. Tasha's own family didn't attend because they had disowned her for some reason. I was invited but chose not to attend or be part of my own brother's wedding. My brother called me, pleading for me to reconsider after I declined the invitation to his wedding. I told him I wasn't going to attend my ex's wedding. Noah accused me of being jealous and unable to handle his happiness. That was the last time we spoke for 5 years. Recently, my mom called and said he wanted to reconcile. I insisted he should reach out to me directly, not through her, but she begged me to give him a chance. Reluctantly, I agreed to try. A couple of days later, he called me himself. He said Tasha was pregnant, and despite 5 years passing, they were doing well. He wanted to prove me wrong and insisted Tasha had become a faithful wife. He urged me to put the past aside and reconcile to welcome the new baby. I decided to visit them, and they appeared to be a happy, ordinary family. Noah teased me for still being single and encouraged me to find a girlfriend. He thanked me for introducing him to Tasha and credited me for his happiness. The whole situation really annoyed me, and I was determined to prove my brother wrong. I was surprised their relationship had lasted so long, so I started digging into Tasha's past few years. It wasn't hard to find out about her questionable behavior. She had cheated on my brother multiple times, even checking into hotels with other guys, and I had all the evidence. I also had screenshots of texts from a guy named John, who had a bad ending with Tasha. He shared screenshots of her texting other guys as well. He told me he didn't know she was married, and that she used him for shopping and going out when her husband was away. I had gathered enough proof to show that Tasha was indeed a cheater, especially thanks to John. One day, Tasha called me over, claiming it was an emergency and that she was alone. Because she was pregnant, I didn't feel right leaving her by herself. I went to their house, and Tasha told me Noah was at work. She admitted she knew I'd been asking around about her and suggested that if I slept with her, I wouldn't tell Noah the truth. She even invited me to the bedroom, but I refused and left right away. What happened next shocked me. Tasha lied to Noah, claiming that I had asked her to sleep with me and threatened to expose her cheating. When I told Noah what really happened, that Tasha had actually called me and offered herself to me to keep quiet about her cheating, he refused to believe me. I showed him all the evidence I had gathered, but he was furious and wouldn't listen to anything I said. I tried to tell him through my parents that Tasha was cheating, but Noah didn't want to hear it from anyone. He became even more upset, accusing me of trying to turn the whole family against Tasha. Now my mom and dad were aware of Tasha's actions, and my mom was deeply troubled by it. She didn't want Noah to be trapped in a bad marriage, especially now that they were expecting a child. My dad, on the other hand, didn't really care. He thought Noah was being incredibly foolish to stay with Tasha despite all the signs pointing to her being unfaithful. I'd always knew Noah was easily swayed, but now he was just being plain foolish. My mom tried to talk to Noah, explaining that Tasha wasn't good for him. However, Noah thought I had influenced her, and now she believed Tasha was a cheater based on fake evidence. He got angry at my mom, so to mend their relationship, she pretended to believe that Tasha was innocent. I decided to keep my distance from Noah and his wife because there was no point in trying to convince someone who didn't want to believe me. He was already angry with me for what he believed was me trying to seduce his wife. After a couple of months, Noah called me to say that Tasha was going into labor. My parents were stuck in another state due to bad weather, so I went to be with him. The birth was long and complicated, but in the end, Tasha and Noah welcomed a baby boy into the world. I felt genuinely happy for them when their baby arrived, but when I saw the baby, something felt off. There were a few features that neither Noah nor Tasha had, and they couldn't be explained by genetics. The baby's eyes, in particular, seemed different, almost like those of an Asian baby. I tried to brush it off, thinking maybe all babies look a bit strange at first, but deep down, I had a gut feeling that something wasn't right. I stayed with them for a couple of days, and the more I observed the baby, the more convinced I became that he wasn't my brother's. It almost felt like a victory to me because the baby seemed like undeniable proof that Tasha had cheated. I could see it in my brother's behavior too. He seemed distant and disconnected from the baby, lacking any emotional bond. It was clear that he was struggling with the situation. A couple of days later, my brother came to my house and finally addressed the elephant in the room. He confessed that he had doubts about the baby's paternity and believed that Tasha had cheated on him. He also revealed that they had been careful to use protection, but Tasha claimed it had failed. I showed him all the evidence I had collected, proving that she had been cheating on him regularly. Noah broke down in tears that night, while Tasha kept calling him incessantly because she couldn't handle taking care of the baby alone. I urged Noah to do a paternity test to clear up any doubts. When he did, the results confirmed that he wasn't the father. Noah confronted Tasha, and we all witnessed their heated argument as Noah wanted us there for support. Tasha didn't have much ground to stand on because she was clearly in the wrong. However, she tried to play the victim by accusing Noah of not trusting her and conducting a paternity test without her knowledge. She threw a massive tantrum, screaming and throwing things, which scared and woke up the baby. Noah decided to stay at our parents' house for a few days, taking the baby with him because he didn't trust Tasha to care for him during such chaos. It seemed like Noah was starting to form a bond with the baby, and so were Mom and Dad. Noah served Tasha with divorce papers, but she wasn't ready to accept it. Initially, she denied cheating and accused Noah of fabricating the DNA results. After another test confirmed Noah wasn't the father, she resorted to making excuses for her actions. She even claimed the baby was conceived through IVF with a sperm donor, but she couldn't provide any evidence to support her claims. As a result, the court granted the divorce on the grounds of adultery. But she got custody of the child because legally my brother had no rights to the child. She also asked for money for taking care of the child. The court decided she couldn't get money for the child because the child wasn't really Noah's, and she didn't deserve money for herself either. Tasha blamed me for the divorce and kept calling me nonstop. She also begged my brother to let her stay with him because she had nowhere else to go with the baby. My mom and dad offered to help her for a few weeks until she could find her own place and a job. I don't think she deserves their kindness, but my parents are really nice people. I still can't believe my brother was so silly and easily tricked into marrying Tasha. I know I shouldn't be mad, but I feel like my brother got what he deserved. My ex-girlfriend cheated on me with my own brother. Even though I warned him not to, he still married her. And when I tried to tell him she was still cheating, he didn't believe me. Instead, he believed her lie that I tried to make a move on her. I'm thinking about cutting ties with my brother because I'm still really mad at him for everything that happened. The only reason I kept talking to him was because I wanted to prove him wrong and show him that his wife was cheating, just like I said she was. Now that the truth is out, I feel satisfied and even a bit amused. Sometimes I want to tease him about it and see his reaction. I know some people might think I'm being mean, but that's just how I feel. After all, my brother wasn't very nice to me either. Hey there, I'm back to fill you in on what's been happening with my brother and his cheating ex-wife, who happens to be my ex-girlfriend too. It's quite a crazy situation, right? Even crazier is that she got pregnant from cheating. Well, my brother divorced her, and she ended up with nowhere to go. My mom and dad, being the kind-hearted folks they are, let her stay in one of their apartments rent-free until she could get back on her feet. They felt sorry for her, especially because she had a baby to take care of. They didn't want to see her and the baby out on the streets. Personally, I thought she'd find someone else to take care of her, but my parents are just really nice. After the divorce, her lawyer suggested she find out who the baby's real father was so he could help with child support. But she had no idea who it could be. Despite this, she felt like it was my mom's responsibility to look after the baby while she went out job hunting. She dropped the baby off at my parents' house in the morning and sometimes wouldn't come back until late at night, or even the next morning. Some nights, she wouldn't come back at all to pick up the baby. So basically, my mom became the baby's full-time nanny. My dad was really upset about the situation, so he told Tasha not to leave the baby at their house anymore. Tasha got really angry and threw a big tantrum. She called my parents selfish and unkind, saying she needed help and couldn't find a job. She accused them of being inhumane for not wanting to help her out. My mom ended up giving in and continued to take care of the baby, but my dad wasn't happy about it at all. Noah didn't want to get involved, but I felt like Tasha was causing too much trouble for my parents and wanted her out of their lives. I decided to help Tasha find a job, but what I discovered shocked me. Instead of looking for work, she was at home all day with a new boyfriend who had moved in with her and was paying for everything. Her boyfriend worked from home and needed peace and quiet, so he asked Tasha to take the baby away. When I found out, I told my parents, and they refused to look after the baby anymore. They also told Tasha she had a week to leave their house and find a new place to live. Tasha's new boyfriend was just using her to live rent-free, so when she asked him to find a place for them, he ditched her and disappeared. Tasha ended up moving in with her friend instead. Since I had already spent time helping Tasha find a job, I found a cleaning job at a daycare for her. I chose that job because they offered childcare while she worked. Tasha took the job because she was desperate. It was satisfying to see her in a humble position like cleaning. It's also ironic that she thought she could have another baby and nobody would notice. She brought all this upon herself. Honestly, I have mixed feelings about her. Part of me thinks she deserves the tough situation she's in, but I also feel bad for the baby and for her as a single mom. I hope she stops cheating and takes good care of her child. That's all for now. Thanks for following along with the story, and thanks for the supportive comments. After reading your feedback, I've decided not to cut ties with my brother completely, but things won't be the same as before Tasha came into our lives. She really damaged our family bond. Noah has distanced himself from the family since the divorce, and I'm not sure whether I should reach out to him or leave him alone. Let me know what you think in the comments. I wanted to share another update and continuation of my previous post about my brother's ex, who also happens to be my ex. First off, thank you all for the guidance and support. I really didn't know who to turn to, and your comments helped me see things more clearly. I reached out to my brother, and I'm so glad I did. He admitted feeling a sense of shame for not believing me earlier, and with everything that happened with the divorce, he wasn't doing well emotionally. I'm relieved I didn't cut ties and made an effort to mend our relationship, even though I was still angry about the whole situation. I think there's a difference between trusting your partner and blindly believing them at the expense of your family. At this point, I feel like I'm the older brother. Eventually, I opened up about my feelings of anger and resentment towards him for being involved with my cheating ex-girlfriend. He definitely broke some bro codes. He apologized and acknowledged his mistake in trusting a cheater. He also apologized for making fun of me for being single. I had pushed a lot of his behavior aside, but looking back, he hasn't always been the best brother to me. He's had his moments, especially after marrying Tasha. As for Tasha, it seemed like she was doing okay, but it turns out her cleaning job didn't last long. She ended up sleeping with the daycare manager and got promoted to a helper, even though she wasn't really good at taking care of kids. There were complaints from staff about her behavior with the children, and even parents started complaining. Eventually, the daycare had to let her go because of all the complaints, which wasn't good for their reputation. The manager also ended things with her, leaving her without a job and desperate once again. After a long search, Tasha finally found the baby's father, Kyle. He was a wealthy middle-aged man of Asian descent who, like Tasha, had a history of cheating. Kyle was already married to a woman named Rita, who must have been devastated to find out about his infidelity and the child. Tasha insensitively showed up at their door, but when Kyle denied any involvement with her or the baby, she called the police and sought legal help. Kyle was asked to take a paternity test, which confirmed he was the father. Rita, unable to conceive herself, decided they should try to claim custody of the child. They fought in court, but Kyle wasn't really interested in being a parent, so they lost the case. Tasha's intentions for keeping the baby weren't exactly noble. She wanted the child so she could receive child support payments from Kyle and use the money for her own needs. The court ruled in her favor and she started getting a substantial amount of money from Kyle every month. Meanwhile, the baby would spend the whole day at daycare while Tasha searched for a new guy to take care of her. Tasha turned out to be even worse than I imagined. She's relying on others for financial support and seems to have no plans for her own future. Eventually, her looks will fade, and she'll need a stable career to support herself. It's unlikely any sensible guy would want to marry her after seeing what she's become. She moves from one man to another, using them for her own gain, and it's only a matter of time before she gets into serious trouble. I feel sorry for the child caught up in all of this. I hope Tasha changes her ways because easy living now could lead to tough times ahead. My brother and I are constantly hearing about Tasha's latest antics. It's amazing how quickly gossip spreads in this town. She's developed a pretty bad reputation now, and I doubt any decent guy would want to get involved with her knowing her history of gold digging. I'm concerned about the kind of people she's surrounding herself with and how it might impact the baby. Hey everyone, I've got more updates on Tasha and her habit of cheating, gold digging, and mooching off others. Just like I predicted, she's fallen into some pretty unsavory company. Unfortunately, some guys are just looking to take advantage of her situation. I believe in respecting women's choices, including having an active sexual life, but the men Tasha is getting involved with are dangerous criminals with ties to drug trafficking. Currently, she's living with a guy who she overdosed with while using drugs. I won't go into specifics about what substances they were using. Tasha didn't receive help for almost 20 hours, and during that time, her baby was left unattended. The child managed to wander out onto the streets, and it was only by chance that neighbors found him before he was hit by a car. They brought the child home, where they found Tasha unconscious and called the authorities. Tasha was then placed in rehab, and the child was taken into custody by Child Protection Services. Sadly, the child had been exposed to high levels of drugs and smoke, which had severely affected his lungs at such a young age. Noah and I felt sorry for the child, so we requested to meet him, and thankfully we were allowed. The baby's biological father, as mentioned earlier, was contacted and granted custody of the child after it was determined they could provide proper care. My mom grew attached to the child as well, so she was deeply concerned for his well-being. Finally, the child found a loving caregiver in Rita, a schoolteacher who adores children. Rita embraced the baby as her own and began caring for him. What came as a surprise was that Rita decided to divorce Kyle. She had substantial evidence of his infidelity through the baby, and she received a significant amount of alimony. It was a relief that Rita chose to leave Kyle because she didn't deserve to be with a cheater. Not only did Rita end her marriage with Kyle, but she also retained custody of the child. Rita officially adopted the child and is now raising him as a single mother. I'm pleased to see that she's doing well, and I'm grateful that the child is in good hands. Rita allows my mom to spend time with the child since she's so attached and concerned for his welfare. My mom never wanted to deal with Tasha's drama, so she hadn't reached out to her. Tasha's overdose landed her in the hospital for a couple of weeks, and it's fortunate she was found in time. The child she left unattended was in a dire state, malnourished, weak, and nearly hit by a car. It was a close call, and if the child hadn't opened the door, things could have been much worse. Tasha was required to undergo 6 months of rehab and faced a hefty fine, or else she'd have faced jail time. My brother visited her out of sympathy, thinking she'd be upset about losing custody of her child. However, Tasha showed no concern for the child's well-being. She was only upset about losing child support from Kyle and was relieved not to have to care for the baby anymore. Upon leaving rehab, Tasha went to Rita's house, only to find out Rita had divorced Kyle and legally adopted the child. Tasha audaciously asked Rita for money to prevent her from taking the baby away, unaware that Rita had already adopted him. Rita promptly called the police when Tasha threatened her with money and obtained a restraining order against her. Tasha was warned that any attempt to see the child would result in her arrest for putting the child in danger. I can't stop thinking about everything that happened. Tasha had a good life with my brother Noah. If only she had changed and stayed faithful to him, her life would be much better now. I can't understand why she cheated. Noah tried his best to give her attention, but it seems like she just wanted attention from many guys at once. Tasha ruined her own life, and she's the one who suffered in the end. But her actions also hurt her child and Noah. I wish she had been more careful and used protection to avoid hurting the baby. Luckily, my brother found out about Tasha's cheating through the baby, so everything turned out okay in the end. Noah realized the truth. Rita got a child, and Tasha faced the consequences of her actions.